down. Okay. 75, 75, 0.25, 0.2, 0.01. And then we can define our up and our down using these, which is important because you're going to be asked to change some things in the project, and the up and down will change depending on the volatility. So this equals, and then the formula for this is the exponential, so it's exp. And then whatever you put in the parentheses here of the exponential is actually what it's raised to. So volatility times the square root of time, and then double close the parentheses. And we can see that our up factor here is about 1.12. So it's going to move up about 12%. And then our down factor was the inverse of the up factor. So just raised to the -1. Now you can see what this does by making it an inverse. It makes that our second and third movements out are going to converge back to 1 point in the tree. Now, there's two ways that you could go about doing this, depending on how artistic you are. You could either start off by saying, all right, I want my tree to look nice and all my lines to be the same length, so I'm going to start building my tree. And you basically want these lines pointing to the middle location here. Keeping them a certain distance apart is going to be key because it's going to allow you to just drag appropriately. So you could either start like this, and then you could say, I'm going to copy these, and I'm going to paste. Right? And then from each point in the tree, you would want these to line up. So at this point, this would be, you can label these, it would be helpful. This is S up, and this is S down. And we know the value of S up, the stock in the up state, is going to equal the stock. Let's do this so it all files in. So all we have to do is change our parameters, and the whole thing will change. So we want this first cell to equal our stock. And then each of these could say equals the stock times the up state. And this one would be then the stock times the down state. And then we could just grab this. And then we could just go on from here. We could then go on to say this equals the stock in the up state, again, times the up state. And if we wanted to, we could lock the up state here just to save us some time. And drag down, but we can only drag down to this one here. And again, you can see how the inverse works so that we get back to 75. This is also 67 times the up state, and this one here would be the stock in the down state, and we're moving down, down, so the stock in the down state times the down factor. This is one way you could go about this. The other way, the way that might be a little bit more efficient and something to think about, is that your Excel spaces, they don't move when you just move the cells. And all I mean by that is this formula is going to stay in here regardless of whether it's in this cell or whether I put it down in this cell. So it doesn't change just by me dragging it. So what you could set up is very quickly just say equals the stock in the up state. And then over here, you kind of want to leave some spaces, so you could say equals times the up, And you don't have to worry then about making the nice little lines yet. Now, the other thing that I can do, that I haven't done yet, is I can come back in here just like we did last time, and I can name this down or up, and I can name this D or down. And then when I'm down here, and I can name this, let's just call this S. Then when I'm looking down here, and I know what these have to be just because of the location in the cells, right? This is the stock, this is stock up, or S up, and this is S up up. So I could actually just very easily say S times U times U. And go to the next one, S times U times D. And this one would be S times D times D. So again, just doing these to try and give you some ideas about how you can work quickly through Excel. Yeah.
Do we need the lines, or can we place it how you have me second?
You don't necessarily need the lines. It's going to look better in your printed project if you have them. But
Okay.
the point was, once they're all in here like this, right, you can basically just take these out, and then take these out, and then take the next ones out, and then put in the lines.
Okay.
Right? So the point was, do your work in Excel. Don't necessarily focus so much on the way the project looks, and this is just general life advice. Get the numbers in there that you want, and then try and make it look pretty. So get it in there correct, and the way that this is it's easier to kind of see the spaces in here. So you can start like this. All right, so we're out 1 period here, 2 periods here, and what we need to do, 5 periods? 5 periods. So you would continue this on out until you got to, let's see, this is 3 periods, 4 periods, 5 periods, and you would say this equals, and again, you can shorten what you do, S times U, and we know we're 5 periods out, raised to the 5. And then this would be to the 4, and if you have both of these, I'm not certain if it'll do this, I've never tried, but it's worth a shot. Doesn't like doing that. Alright, this one here, one reason is it's not times the 4th. This is S to the 4th times D. And this is equals S times U times U times U, S to the 3rd times D times D. All it is how you get there. So we went up, 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 down, down. And the next one would be equals S times U times D. And the next one would be, and again, it doesn't matter if you use all ups or all downs here, but you could say S times, and how else could you get there? You could say D times D times D times D times U. And then the last one would be equals S times D raised to the 5th. So these are our ending values. Again, just to kind of get you started, you're going to want to do the same thing, but remember we work our way back with the calls. So our ending values here are going to equal the max of ST minus X or 0. And we know that our ST is just the stock at expiration. So ST minus, do this, X or 0?
If you're at X, you label the actual X, not the value.
Wait, thank you. If that happens, there we go. And we can see that this is the difference between the stock in the up state and the strike. And again, we can just drag this down, deleting the ones that we know are not there. That one actually is there. Every other one. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, working your way back from here, it's easy with the zeros. All you do is you say possibility of 0 and 0, that's 0. Possibility of 0 and 0, that's 0. These two, the future values are these two. So with the possibility of only getting to 0, so if you were in this space here, regardless of if you went up, you're still going to end at 0. The value is 0. And then starting up here, you say equals. And let's do this all in one step, so we would say equals, we need P star, right?
Mm-hmm.
Steps, find P star. Let's call this P star. P, and this equals 1 plus the risk-free rate minus the down divided by the up minus the down. And when you do this, just make sure that you have the parentheses there so that you're not just dividing the down by the up minus down factor, or you're not just dividing the top numerator only by the up factor and then subtracting the p. So close both sets of parentheses, and we see that in this case we have a 51.6% chance of moving to the up state, which gives us a 48.3% chance of moving down. And again, it's nice if we call this P, because what that allows us to do is look at our formula and say P, did I get P in? P times our up state plus 1 minus P, and notice the parentheses, times our down value. And now closing all the parentheses and then dividing by 1 plus the risk-free rate. And again, it would be nice if I name this something like RF, because then they're not going to drag. Anything that has a name doesn't drag. And so the only thing that's going to drag here is this H28 and the H30. And so as we drag down to, we should get the appropriate formulas for all of these. Knowing that these zeros we just take out. Okay? Now, the other thing that we can do is remember in Excel, if we copy something and then we paste, it's going to adjust the cells. Moving does not adjust, pasting does. So if we look at this, what I just pasted in here, and we just want to double check, is G29 the up state? Yes. Is G31 is the down state? Yes. So all I did was copy and paste, and then again I can just drag down.